Hello and welcome to this slow English listening for beginners. Today's topic is my favorite book, 100 Years of Solitude. After the story, I will ask you some questions to check on your understanding. Don't worry if you don't understand everything. Just focus on the key information. Are you ready? Let's begin. My real passion has always been reading. Today, I want to share with you my thoughts about my all-time favorite book, 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel García Márquez. I first discovered this amazing book when I was 17 years old. It was a special gift from my mother for my birthday. I remember opening the package and seeing the beautiful cover with its vibrant colors. My mother told me it was a book that changed her life when she was young, and she wanted to share this magical experience with me. At that time, I didn't know this book would become so important to me. 100 Years of Solitude was published in 1967. Gabriel García Márquez was a Colombian writer who won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1982. He is famous for his style called magical realism, which mixes everyday life with magical elements. This makes the stories very special and different from other books. The book tells the story of the Buendia family over 7 generations. They live in a small town isolated called Macondo, which García Márquez created for this story. The town of Macondo starts as a simple place, but grows and changes over the years, just like the family does. The story begins with José Arcadio Buendia and his wife Ursula. They are the founders of the town and the first generation of the family. José Arcadio is a curious and imaginative man who is always interested in new inventions and ideas. Ursula is a strong, practical woman who keeps the family together through many difficulties. One of the things that makes this book challenging but also fascinating is that many characters have similar names. For example, there are several men named José Arcadio and several named Aureliano throughout the generations. This can be confusing, but it also shows how traits and characteristics are passed down through families, which is one of the main themes of the book. The Buendia family experiences many events throughout the story. There are moments of great joy and terrible sadness. They fall in love. They fight wars. They build businesses, and they face their own personal struggles. Through it all, there is a sense of destiny or fate that allows the family as if their lives were already written in an ancient manuscript. What I love most about this book is the magical elements that appear throughout the story. These are not like fairy tales or fantasy stories. Instead, they are presented as normal parts of everyday life. For example, a character named Remedios, the beauty is so pure and beautiful that one day she simply floats into the sky while folding sheets in the garden. In another part of the book, it rains yellow flowers for days after an important character dies. These magical moments make the story feel dreamlike and special. The book also shows the history of Colombia and Latin America in a symbolic way. There are civil wars, economic changes, and arrival of foreign companies that exploit the local resources. One famous scene described the massacre of workers that was hidden from public knowledge, which refers to real historical events. Marquez uses the story of one family to tell the larger story of the country and the continent. When I first read this book, I found it challenging. There were many characters to keep track of, and the story doesn't always follow a straight timeline. Sometimes it jumps forward or backward in time, but I couldn't stop reading because the world of Macondo felt so real and magical at the same time. I stayed up late for several nights, completely absorbed in the story. I think what makes this book so powerful is how it explores universal themes like love, family, power, and solitude. The title itself, 100 Years of Solitude, points to one of the main ideas in the book, that we all experience loneliness in our lives, even when we are surrounded by family. Many characters in the story feel isolated or misunderstood, unable to connect deeply with others. There are many love stories in the book, some beautiful and some tragic. Some characters find true love, while others are consumed by obsession and passion. The author shows all the different ways that love can shape our lives, both positively and negatively. The language in the book is beautiful and poetic. Even though I read it in English translation, it was originally written in Spanish. I could feel the power and the beauty of the writing. The author describes things in such a vivid detail that you can almost see, smell, touch the world he creates. His descriptions of tropical environment of Macondo makes the setting come alive. One of my favorite passages describes the plague of insomnia that affects the entire town. People cannot sleep and gradually begin to lose their memories. They start to label things with its names so they won't forget what things are called. This part of the book shows how important memory is to our identity and our sense of reality. Another memorable character is Melquiades, a mysterious gypsy who brings inventions and knowledge to Macondo. He leaves behind manuscripts written in a secret code that nobody can understand. Only at the end of the book do we learn that these manuscripts actually contain the entire history of the Buendia family, written before it happened. This creates an interesting circle in the story, where the beginning and the end are connected. I have read this book 5 times now. I first read it at 17 years old, then again at 30, 33, 36, and just last year at 41. Each time I read it, I discover something new that I hadn't noticed before. This book has influenced some aspects of my life. It has made me more curious of my own family history and stories of my ancestors. It has also given me love for Latin American literature and culture. After reading it last year, I became interested in learning Spanish, and I've been taking Spanish classes. My dream is to one day read this book in its original Spanish version, to experience the author's words exactly as he wrote them. The book has also taught me to look for magic in everyday life. Not supernatural magic, but the small moments of wonder and beauty that we often overlook. I've learned to pay more attention to the stories people tell and the ways the past events shape our present lives. I often recommend this book to my friends, but with a warning. It's not easy to read at first. You need to be patient and give yourself time to enter in the world of Macondo and get to know the Buendia family. But if you do, you will be rewarded with one of the most extraordinary reading experiences of your life. I'm curious to know if any of you have ever read this book or any books written by this author. If you haven't, I highly recommend giving it a try. It might change the way you see literature and storytelling, just as it did for me. Now, let's check on your understanding. Answer these questions. What is the name of the book's author? The author's name is Gabriel García Márquez. In what town does the story take place? The story takes place in Macondo. How old was I when I first read the book? I was 17 years old. What literary style is Garcia Marquez famous for? Magical realism. What is my dream related to this book? To read the book in its original Spanish language. If you have answered correctly to all the questions, you have done a good job. Keep working and see you next time. Bye-bye.